I am a first-generation American. My parents immigrated here from India, my father to go to graduate school and my mother to go to medical school. As is expected, they tried to foster the culture of their childhood in my life ever since I was born. At first it worked. As a baby and a toddler in rural West Virginia, I spoke the language that they did in India, Tamil, and I was vegetarian, just as they were for their entire lives. I learned to pray like my parents, to eat like them, and to talk like them. However, this quickly changed as soon as I became exposed to the society around me. It began as I spent time at my babysitter's house, as I picked up words like mom and food like hot dogs from their sons. I soon realized that I wanted to fit in, that the way my family did things was entirely different from the ways of other families where I lived. Much like Milton and Tessie in Geoffrey Eugenides' Middlesex, I became a product not of my parents' upbringing, but of the societal trends around me. Just as Milton resisted learning Greek and strove to join the army like all the other boys of his time, I resisted my parents' language, insisting on speaking English instead. I resisted their efforts to keep me vegetarian, asking for hot dogs and chicken nuggets whenever we went out. I now see that some of my habits disgusted my parents, as they were alien to them as Milton's ideas were to Desdemona. However, I would later experience the opposite side of the spectrum. In the last few years, my family's cultural background gained a new meaning for me. I began to pick up Tamil phrases again. I reverted to vegetarianism. It started seeming like, unlike the influences away from more mainstream American values that largely dominated my earlier decisions, accepting my Indian background would actually be easier than rejecting it. I had no idea what caused this feeling, but I experienced another, albeit less powerful shift, this time back towards the culture of my parents, similar to the shift that Cal experiences, a new force that pulls him towards the culture of his ancestors. This is even more apparent to me now that I live at Georgia Tech. For most of my life, I was used to being the only Indian kid in school, the only one in town. My more American friends did not understand my experiences, my relationship with my parents, because it was different from theirs. During my youth, these differences separated me just as they separated Milton's Stephanides. Later, it made me unique, gave me an identity, which is exactly what Cal searched for. Now that I live on a college campus with such an elevated level of diversity of all kinds, I'm able to recognize that many of my peers understand my experiences and can see a glimmer of their own lives in my story. Whether you strive to escape your parents' culture or struggle to find it, the way that your ancestors lived determines the way that you do, and the way that you choose to live helps to define your identity.